So I've got a founder out there. Let's just use a scenario, and they're like, I have an idea for an app. What advice would you give them, whether they're going to use your platform or not? What advice would you give them in terms of their MVP journey? And then we can talk about how they might be using Mars. But give some advice based on your experience to founders as a startup founder.
I do that very often recently, because we have a lot of people coming with exactly that question. Like, we have MVP, but now what I see, what's common in all those conversations, is that people come with a lot of features in their head, like with too many. And I feel like I have to, do a very, very unpopular job of telling them, can we please not do that? Are you sure you need that? And then, it's easier for me because I've done quite a lot of different startups. It's been over 10 in B2B, B2C, and I always make that hack. I just use some of my experience where it's very similar to what they do. And I tell them, in that project, we did it this way, we didn't do that thing, and it was no problem. And then they trust me because, well, that's true, right? But it only works because I bring that, the other experience. But what I want is that the founders actually understand that you have to do as little as possible, ideally nothing. So if you can do actually your MVP with doing nothing, that's impossible. But in theory, like, try to go there. And for me, like, if you take Mars, like, Mars is a complicated platform. The first version of Mars, I've created in 2 weeks. So I coded it myself in 2 weeks. It could do very little thing. It could do like just one thing, but the whole thing was around that question, whether that thing is possible and whether that thing gives value. So the first thing I did there was that whether you could just bring an outside piece of code, put it there, and then the other code, and you can put it together in one project, right? Like, that was kind of the first idea, and that was quite valuable. People liked it, but they said, like, a lot of other things are missing, a lot of problems there. But again, that thing that they really liked. But if I went to build everything, I would come back to them in a year, right? So, like, I talked to one founder last week. They're making an Uber for cleaning services, so for the laundry and etc. And they had the project, and they estimated that, like, for 6 months they get estimate from the dev shop, like, it was 200,000 and things like that. And then even within Mars, you can do a lot of things quickly. But even in that case, I tell him, look, it's not good to start with a full product, because then you have no idea what doesn't work if it doesn't work, right? You have a lot of things, and how do you figure out what to do next if you have something that doesn't work, right? If you have one thing, you just change that to the other thing, and you can compare. And we ended up having, this exercise where we were removing things, and there was only 3 features left out of the very long list, right? And actually, what was funny, that those features didn't need the coding. So they ended up going and buying the bags for the laundry and just giving it to the people who need that, who subscribe for that kind of service. And then they would just send a message in the chat that it's full. And then somebody would pick that thing, wash it, and bring it back, right? And that's how they validate the idea, and it works. So they have sold 200 bags, and now they have quite a good traction on the bags. And now they do it all manually, but they see the traction. Now maybe investors will be interested, and etc. So my advice, basically, like in the short words, try to do as little as possible. Like push it so hard that you end up doing almost nothing as a first run,